Hi everyone! Today we're going to explore how brands connect with us not only logically but emotionally through our senses. This presentation will unpack the science and the psychology behind sensory marketing, showing how companies like Starbucks, IKEA, and Coca-Cola use multiple sensory strategy to build loyalty, increase the engagement, and influence behavior in ways we weren't often not even aware of. So, when we think about marketing, we usually think about the ads or the logo, but in reality, some of the most powerful brand impressions come from what we smell, touch, taste, see, and hear. Sensory marketing is about creating the experience that speaks to our own five senses, that engage in us emotionally and even unconsciously. Think of work, working into a bakery. The smell alone may pull you in before you even see a product. This is not by accident, it's strategic. These two big trends make sensory marketing more important than ever. First off, is the shift toward individualization. That is, consumers want the brands to reflect their unique identities. And second is the rise of digital technology, which allows brands to engage people across the multiple channels and moments. So brands must create personalized multi-sensory experience that are both emotional and technological adaptive. Let's talk about the theory. The field of sensory marketing is backed by several psychological and behavioral models. One key model is the stimulus organism response model, or SOR. In this in this model, external stimuli like lighting, sounds, or scents affects our internal taste. These internal states can be emotional, such as pleasure or excitement or comfort, and they lead to the actions. For example, a relaxing store environment might make you stay longer or feel more willing to spend money. Another theory is embodied cognition. It suggests that our thinking and decision making are influenced by our bodies and sensory experiences. For instance, the physical feel of a product, like its weight, its softness, or the temperature, can impact how trustworthy and luxurious we believe it. The multi-sensory framework The multi-sensory framework tells us that sensory input rarely work in isolation. Music, scent, visuals, and also the texture all blend together, creating a complex and memorable experience that stick to our mind. Now, let's flip the lens and what's the role of the firm in on this? The company acts as the designer of experience, and its job is to understand what sensory cues matter and use them intentionally across on the consumer touchpoint. This includes things like building service processes that integrate sensory triggers, creating multisensory experiences where sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch all work in harmony, and designing a consistent sensory identity across the physical stores, packaging, and digital platforms. Here's something interesting. Our brand doesn't process each sense of its own. Instead, it merges them into a single, holistic experience. When you experience a brand, whether it sounds of a jingle or the softness of fabric or the smell of the coffee, your brand doesn't process these elements in isolation. It blends them into a single, unified experience. This is what the Chesto perspective teaches. That is, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. A great example of this is Starbucks. The founder of Starbucks designed Starbucks stores to stimulate on five senses: the smell of freshly brewed coffee, the jazzy background music, and the texture of the wooden tables, and also the visual warmth of the earthy tones. These aren't just decor choices. They are part of a carefully designed brand atmosphere that make people feel a certain way, and because of that, they keep coming back. So, how should companies implement sensory marketing? It's have to break down into three stages. There are pre-purchase. The brand use visual, audio, and other cues in ads, website, and product display to capture the attention and interest. And in-store, that is the physical environments should be welcoming and immersive, like lighting, stunts, music, or layout, or also the materials that all contribute to the customer experience. And the post-purchase, that is sensory follow-up matter too. Brands can maintain engagement through packaging, personalized playlists, or even sense that is infused email. The key is the consistency. Every touchpoint should support a unified sensory identity. Similarly, eCare isn't just about feature, it is the maze-like layout, the colors, the textures, and even the smell of cinnamon rolls in the cafe. All of these elements create a comforting, engaging brand experience that make people stay longer and also buy more. And let's dive deeper into our brand. Do you know that your brand is only 2% of your body weight, but it's used 20% of your energy? And every second, it processes about 11 million bits of information, mostly through our sense. But here's the twist. We're only consciously aware of 40 bits. That means 99.99% of our sensory input is processed unconsciously. That's where sensory marketing trip is work when even when we are not fully paying the attention. And now let's get deeper into the brand itself. Our brand is like a black box. So many of our decisions influenced by the emotion, institution, or habits, not logic. We might think we buy candle because it's on sale, but maybe it's what the sense that remind us of our maybe childhood, or the sensory marketing tapped into these deep unconscious cues. Think about how you don't have to think about brushing your teeth or riding a bike. These routines are handled by what we call the unconscious mind, a silent but powerful system shaped by your upbringing, culture, and also the daily experiences. This mind decodes signals from our environments, making fast decisions and forming preferences before we even know it. And this is the brand structure. Mm, the neuron scientists divide the brain into three parts. That is, the reptilian's brains that can handle the instinct and survival. The limbic system processes the emotion and memory, and the cerebral cortex manages the logics and language. So sensory cues often hit the limbic system first, activating the emotional memory before logical thinking even kicks in. And that's why emotional branding works so well. So the three brands within to understand how the brand work in marketing is have to break down into three interconnected parts. First of all is the cerebral cortex. This is the thinking brain. It handles logics, language, learning, and also the memory. It is also the part of the brain where conscious thoughts happens. Conscious thoughts happens. The left is logical and analytical, and is where we handle math or language or the structural reasoning. And the right is the emotional and also the creative, and more tune with art, music, or institution. And the limbic system, this is the emotional brain, where we form emotional memories and social behaviors. First of all is the first ones is deal with fear and emotional response, and also second ones have us to store and restrict memory, and the last one regulates our bodily functions and triggers emotional response like stress or pleasure. And the reptilian brain, this is the most primitive part of our brain. It controls survival instinct like breathing or heartbeat or fight or flight reactions. It processes threats quickly and respond based on instinct, often overriding the rational thought. So when we see a powerful brand symbol or hear a nostalgic jingle, the reaction often starts with emotion. It's not logic. About the sensory input and memory. The sensory input first enter the sensory memory. It's capture attention. It's moved into short-term memory, but only emotional, relevant, or meaningful stimuli make it to long-term memory, where the true brand loyalty is built. This tells us if we if we want to be remembered, we need to create emotional meaningful sensory experiences. The gender differences. Research shows that gender can affect sensory perception. Women are generally more responsive to visual sounds and emotional nuance, when men often prefer practically and make quicker decisions. This doesn't mean one is better. It just means that brands should consider sensory preferences across all the segments. And we also enter the world of narrow marketing. The use of brand scanning tools like EEG or fMRI to see how consumers respond to ads or products. These tools let marketer test what resonates emotionally, not just rationally, but it's also raised ethical concerns. That is how much is too much when influencing behavior unconsciously. A good sensory marketer respect the line between persuasion and manipulation. Here is a really famous example. In a blind taste test, people like Pepsi like slightly more, but when show the brand logo, 90% prefer Coca-Cola. So why? The Coca-Cola brand activates the emotional memory built over the decades through visual cue, music, and storytelling. The coach doesn't just win on taste, it's win on the emotional connection. That's the power of the sensory branding. So to wrap up, sensory marketing is about more than advertising. It's about designing experiences that people feel or remember and also connect with. on a deep level. In an age of digital overload and short attention span, brands that engage the sense that have a better chance of standing out and staying in the customer minds. And thank you for your attention. I hope the sensory has opened your eyes and maybe even your ears, nose, hand, and taste buds to the hidden power of sensory marketing.